Well, an angry President Obama earlier today calling for a change in the relationship between oil companies and the federal regulators that watch over them.
For too long, for a decade or more, there's been a cozy relationship between the oil companies and the federal agency that permits them to drill. It seems as if permits were too often issued based on little more than assurances of safety from the oil companies. That cannot and will not happen anymore.
Now, this comes as lawmakers from California, Oregon, Washington call for a permanent ban on offshore drilling along the Pacific coast.
But California Republican Dana Rohrabacher says ending offshore drilling because of what happened in the Gulf would be like grounding all airplanes after a crash. And he joins us now. Great to see you again. Thanks for being here. I guess the point that you want to make is that if we don't drill, we got to get our oil from someplace, and that means bringing it over in tankers, and they have a worse record than drillers do, right?
Well, that's right. For the last 30 years, we've had almost no accidents coming from offshore oil wells, but we've had massive spills from tankers. In fact, 20 years ago, when I first became a congressman representing this coastal area, I might add, there was a big oil spill. It came from a tanker. Well, for 30 years, we've had relatively safety with offshore oil drilling. But obviously, BP was not diligent. They deserve to pay a penalty. They deserve to be punished for this. Also, we need to make sure that we inspect offshore oil rigs to see that the safety mechanisms are being put in place and are being used. But that doesn't mean you end all offshore oil drilling. That's cutting your foot off because you have a sore on your ankle or something. You don't do that. We need these offshore oil resources. Arnold Schwarzenegger, we just saw a story earlier in your newscast, trying to cut $12 billion worth of services to the people of California. Well, we have enormous oil and natural gas right offshore that could pay for those services. No, let's make sure it's safe. Let's make sure that we put those security measures in place, but let's not shoot ourselves in the head because we got a sore foot.
You know, sir, you make a good point here. I'll tell you, even though after Katrina there were a lot of spills in the Gulf of Mexico, but Nigeria has seen spills, I think, every year since 1969. What did you make of Congresswoman Senator Mary Landrieu's comment that, look, even she says we got to continue to drill, and Louisiana is going to face the brunt of the BP disaster?
But of course, and look, I'll have to tell you, there's a lot of politics being played here, and we know what not producing our own oil and gas is doing to our economy. It's throwing our people out of work. There's a lot more damage that's being caused by the economic consequences of not developing our oil, our offshore oil and gas, than there are to this spill. And this spill is a tragedy. It's a disaster. But what we're going to do is we're going to learn from it and correct it. This would, as I say, it'd be like what these other people want to do. Oh, there's been a terrible plane crash, and we've had terrible plane crashes. You find out what went wrong. You don't ground all commercial airliners and end all commercial aviation because there's been a plane crash. And we need oil and natural gas. We need to start producing our own oil and natural gas. We need the wealth from it because our country is going to hell economically.
California Representative Dana Rohrabacher, good to see you again, sir. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.